he would be considered for quorum, and in which case he would not have to vacate office. He would continue to remain in office. With respect to managerial remuneration, as I said, broadly 5%, 10%, 11%, 1%, 3% are all figures which can be altered with the approval of the shareholders or the central government, as the case may be. Broadly, these are the provisions. I'll be happy to answer. There was just one more point with respect to role of directors. Role of directors is they're supposed to participate in the board meetings and participate in the decision making. They're also supposed to bring in an element of objectivity in discussion. What's also important is under section 166, which deals with duties of directors, there's a very interesting provision which is included. It says that the directors shall not make undue gain. It's important to note the term undue gain, which means the Act does not prohibit directors from gaining by virtue of their association with the company. It's only when it becomes undue gain that the provisions are violated, which means there is no bar in a director being interested in the contract or arrangement. It's only when disclosure is not made will it be violative of the provisions of the Act. Directors, the duties of directors is broadly modeled along the provisions of the UK Act, UK Companies Act, and of 2006. And in line with that, Schedule 4 also has certain duties of directors. In conjunction, it's in order to ensure that the board procedure is further enhanced, the floor is raised, and the participation is of a more effective board that you have these provisions. What's important is to see as to how the Act is implemented, because the penal provisions present a very serious and a grim picture, and its interpretation and going by a broader view which will enable businesses to function and become more effective rather than a hyper-technical view. I'll be happy to answer questions. Thank you very much.
Friends, you have experienced a very fluent and a flawless exposition on the subject. However, probably the sound system and electrical system did not like it, and my apology for that. Before my voice. Friends, we have studied Companies Act many times. However, we still don't remember sections. But we must have noticed that man is remembering not only the sections of the 1956 Act, but also 2013 Act. That shows the command over the subject. And before I invite Devendra Bhai for the vote of thanks, we have has agreed for some questions. So please come forward and put some questions and gain the experience, the benefit of the experience and the knowledge.
Can a company have more than what can be director?
There is no bar in having more than one managing director. So long as the remuneration is taken care of, it's fine.
Then all other directors should agree that is what managing director.
See, that provision comes into play only if a person is a managing director in one company and is supposed to be appointed as a managing director in another company. So that provision is not with respect to appointment of two managing directors in the same company. But practically what we have to see to say that there are two managing directors, how exactly is the powers of the person being divided, that needs to be seen. But barring that, there is no one at all. So long as the remuneration is taken care of, that's will be fine. Sure.
This is the knowledge. The knowledge doesn't mean that even the minutes have been received by the independent director and he is not raising objection to that. It also amounts to
Absolutely, absolutely. Because with respect to knowledge, what we see is the board procedure. What is the quality of papers that were given to him, and if he is not objective, if he has objected to something in the board meeting, has that been limited? before date. So it's actually the manner of writing of minutes also which would then should test.
He is not attended to me. It means that he only received the meeting. And then he finds no objection and objection to the meeting. That also happens to
Sure. Why there is no specific requirement of confirmation of minutes? If he gets the minutes, he is supposed to raise such a question if at all he is not okay with it. Just because you are not present at the meeting does not take away his right. Having said that, he has not participated in a particular decision and he had no right to subsequently object. Let's assume a situation where for 2 meetings he was not personally present and he does not raise any objection with respect to the minutes, but he was not party to a decision being taken, he may not be said to have confined or participated. But having said that, the section 149(12) refers to omission also. Now, when you refer to commission, it's a positive act, which act may be right or wrong. I mean, obviously, when you refer to liability, it's a wrong act. But omission is everything that's not covered in the set of commission. And therefore, it makes it very broad, and hence anything and everything can be covered. And when you attribute knowledge, it's a third dimension which you're adding, and the fourth dimension is due diligence. Due diligence, I think, it's just like covering the earth, ocean, moon, and space.
in case of a company which is a subsidiary, 100% subsidiary of a foreign company, there are two directors. One director is a resident director now as it is required and one is a non-resident director. Now such a company can have other meetings except for approval of accounts. For approval of accounts, how will they carry on the business? One is going to be in India and one is going to be abroad.
Person abroad will have to come down personally. Or you have to appoint an alternate director. So the easiest way out is have a meeting where you consider everything other than ones which are not permitted under VC. Appoint an alternate director who comes only for the accounts finalization and rules that. In any case, you can always come with a clear mandate to approve raise questions or do whatever. So technically speaking, what should have been permitted is if you have quorum in India, then one or two directors participating on the VC with respect to matters which cannot be approved by VC should be permitted. It should be resolution based, not meeting based. This was an example, a company has 10 directors and 7 of them are personally present. Foreign commissions are taken care of. So what you are left with is only the integrity of the connection and the meeting. So 3 of them are just going to be staying, are just going to be participating in the meeting from a far off place. Now with technological advancement, it's not a problem at all, whether it's accounts or otherwise. That should have been the provision, but the way the act is and the rules are as on date, it does not really permit the meeting itself to be conducted. This is the only way.
Alternatively, supposing if I have one more non-resident director,
Right.
can the two non-resident directors conduct a meeting in the foreign country and approve the accounts? Because for a private limited company, there is permission. In the Erstwhile Act, there was always a confusion as to supposing there are only two directors and one of them dies,
Right.
then how does the forum be formed for appointment of two directors? Is there any clarification on
There is
that?
yeah. But if I think of the old act, you did have a specific provision which permitted the directors to convene a meeting just to fill up the vacancy. Under the new act also under section 167, there is a very specific provision which permits the directors to fill in the vacancy. And the promoters say that if not, the government is also empowered. So if you can invoke this particular provision.
Because of a husband and wife company, private limited company, husband and wife are directors. There is another company also where the husband is a director. And supposing there is some internal business to be done. Now, how do they get the government? How do they get the
The government receives the issue and it is expected that clarifications will be issued soon. As of now, yes, we agree there's a problem.
Is there any foreign country going to this situation, like this related party?
See, related party, India has basically borrowed the provisions from OECD model, but there is a cover with respect to such companies where you only have related parties only, they would have a right to vote. Because if you're referring to JV partners, JV partners will necessarily have the right to vote. So the only thing that can be provided is a transactions have to be looked at more minutely and with a very clear understanding of what the transaction is. It is being used or rather abused to siphon off monies, or where public monies are involved. Public monies are not involved, a slightly liberal interpretation would be more enough. Yes, please. Sure. Talking of women independent directors, actually Norway leads the pack in the whole world. Norway has around 33% representation of women on the boards of companies. Even UK does not have such a high participation, and UK of late has been mandating. In 2004, UK had around 4% representation on an average on the board. Coming back to the issue of family members being appointed, there is no bar on the family members being appointed as women directors, because all that it says is to bring a bit of diversity, to bring in a different perspective onto the board meetings. Internationally, it has been seen that having diversity on the board does bring in a bit of an emotional content. Of course, there are certain theories which time alone will tell. And to that extent, it's just a new provision which has just been seeded at this juncture in the country. And over a period of time, it does not mean that it's right, wrong, good or bad. It's one to bring in diversity, because a large population also comprises of women, large working population, and hence this is being proposed. Coming back to the specific technical issue of whether family members, sorry? Capabilities. The capabilities, it's not necessarily skill in terms of running a business, which would be seen as a capability. Let me share a small personal example. The NGO that I was associated with was being run by women only, and none of the members who were actually responsible for the management were highly qualified. Some of them were not even graduates. But this particular organization is basically based on Ramakrishna Mission's learnings and Vivekananda's teachings, and they've been very successful. They've been there for more than 15 years, and till date, the cataract operations that they've been conducting, they mainly do cataract operations and selling of few articles which are mainly done by people from economically challenged, economically backward classes. They've been hugely successful, hugely. I had a lot of learnings from them, and it was not giving, it was more of taking, if I could confess.
Disclosure of interest by a director. You mentioned that interest will be filed with the ROC.
That's right.
And you also mentioned some section 117 or something. Where is the requirement in the act?
It's 117 read with section 179 subsection 3 subclause K, read with the rules. 117 corresponds to section 192 of the 1956 Act, and 179 is the section which deals with powers of the board, which is actually 292 of the 56 Act. And under 292, if I were to refer to the 292 section, there is a specific provision that says that the following provisions can be exercised only at a meeting of the board. Now 117, if you refer to the rules, it says any other provision which may be as may be prescribed. And in the prescription by the government, in the rules, they have said 179(3)(k). So whatever is covered over there in the rule, it's jumping from one branch to the other. Effectively, it also requires filing, and the form is MGT 14, which is the reason it falls under Chapter 7.
President Latina, Kaushik Bhai, and dear fellow participants, you all will agree with me that Mr. Savithri Parekh took us through various procedures to be followed by the board in a meeting with respect to appointment, remuneration of directors, managing personnel, their role and responsibility under the new Companies Act 2013 as compared to the old Companies Act 1956 days. Madam, we are very thankful to you for sparing your valuable time. I, on my behalf and on behalf of CPC and all participants present, propose a very